we're gonna throw it back for a minute here. It's 1996, and I am 8 years old. I just got home from my Little League photo shoot. Got grass stains on my pants. Jump out of the Astro van. Go inside. And I don't know it yet, but I'm about to have my first exposure to programming that's going to change the course of my life forever. And it's all thanks to this piece of hardware. Now, if you are not a groaning, aching adult like I am, this is a GameShark Pro for the Nintendo 64. And it sat in between the video game cartridge and the video game console and allowed you to read, intercept, and override the values that were being communicated between the two with values of your own. So in the case of Super Mario, Mario typically would receive some damage if he were running into an enemy, but with the GameShark Pro, you could say, hey, when that event occurs, I actually don't want to take any damage. I'm just going to keep it persisting at the 100% value. And sorry, enemies, not today. Mario could stay big for forever. The GameShark Pro, which is what we're talking about for the new folks that are coming in, allowed you to intercept and access the underlying primitives of the games that you were playing and change them to behave more like you would dream up and not what the factory would dream up for you. Now, of course, this wasn't the only way to bend the rules in a video game. Sometimes the games came with Easter eggs where you could bend the rules as part of the game itself. And an example here, one of my favorite arcade games of all time is called NBA Jam by Midway. And it came with some pretty cool Easter eggs that nobody even really knew about for a really long time. Thanks to this guy here, this is Mark Turmel. He's the lead designer and developer of NBA Jam. And he wrote some code and left it in the game, left it for everybody else to find out years later without telling anybody. He didn't get permission for this, he just did it. See, Mark was from Detroit, and as a Pistons fan, Detroit had a big rivalry with the Chicago Bulls. So Mark wrote some code and shipped it in the production game that said, hey, if the Pistons are playing the Bulls and it's coming down to a close game in the fourth quarter, let's make sure that the Bulls never win. Let's make sure that the Bulls start to brick their shots because we can't have that. We can't have the Bulls overtaking the Pistons here. And nobody really detected it at the time. And it was these video game cheats that really was my first understanding as a kid that the rules of the world are just rules, right? Somebody out there just made them up, and we're playing by them because that's what we were told that we need to play by. But you can bend them. In fact, I usually go so far as to say is that you should bend them. You should change the rules that are in front of you and understand the boundaries of them, change them to act more like what you're dreaming up and not what the factory is dreaming up for you. As programmers, we are often asked to implement projects to spec, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't have a little bit of fun too, right? I mean, we're human. We shouldn't be reduced to daily stand-ups and Jira boards. So I think that it's our responsibility to fight back against the man, to take a stand against hierarchy and process, to challenge cultural and workplace norms, to work less and to play more, to defend our calendars, and to keep the wild and weird World Wide Web alive in our creations. I gotta take this. This is my boss calling.
Hey, Dave. Whoa, look at that background. Is that so realistic? Where'd you get that conference background?
No, Steve, I'm giving a talk at JSConf right now.
Wow. Okay. Hey, everybody. So you're busy?
I guess not. What's up?
Okay, well, quick ask. I just need you to put together a example of a video player using MediaChrome, our player toolkit. Just something fun, be creative, don't be afraid to get inspired, really hoping to show off what we can do with it.
Okay, I can do that.
Just be sure to run it by me, the team, before you show it to other people, okay? But have fun with it.
Okay, yeah, I'll have fun with it, Steve.
Cool. And while you have everybody there, don't forget to tell them about our plans for Video.js.
Oh yeah, Video.js. That's a good idea. I'll do that.
Cool. All right, thanks, Dave.
Okay, see ya. It's always just a quick ask, isn't it? Run it by the team. At least he's right. I mean, MediaChrome is a pretty fun library to build with, if you haven't heard of this. MediaChrome is a video player toolkit, video and audio player toolkit that allows you to kind of access the underlying primitives of a video player and change it so that they can act more like you want them to act and not what somebody else dreams up for you. It's built on web components with slot-based architecture, and you can control it programmatically, style it the way that you want it to look. It's a lot of fun. So, given Steve's ask, how can we bend the rules? You know what I dream of? I dream of a player that would allow me to play again. Help me fight that good fight. Help me play more. None of this business stuff.
Yeah, quick ask here. Run it by the team, show it to the team before you show it to anybody else. Just something fun. Be creative. Be creative.
It's me, Mario.
Game Pro redefines the rules, letting you set the agenda.
That's it. I can set the agenda. I can create a player that doesn't just play the videos, it lets me play the video. We can build it like a game in the arcades of my youth. 3D engines on the web have come such a long way. We could totally do this. Oh man, Steve's gonna friggin' love this. We could walk through building a 3D video player using Three.js. We'll connect the 3D scene to MediaChrome and programmatically control the video playback in an arcade game-like scene. And I'll show you the future of what I think video players look like on the web. How's that sound? Okay? All right, let's go. So this is going to be kind of an introduction to Three.js if you haven't used Three.js before. And I'm using the React variant here. This just allows you to kind of compose your scene in a way that feels more composable and declarative, what you might be used to if you've built with React before. So there's a wrapper for Three.js called react-three-fiber. And you can import this canvas element here. I'm also using some helper utilities called react-three-dry. And this is adding a camera to the scene as well. So this is just kind of the basic layout for how you can compose a 3D scene using JavaScript, which is pretty wild. I'll go ahead and apply this here, and you will see it. Actually, you won't see anything yet because nothing renders by default. So we need to go ahead and start creating this scene, composing something a little bit bigger here. So let's lay the groundwork for what I have in mind. I envision kind of an arcade room. Maybe there's a coin mech in place I can drop coins in, and then the video only plays if I have coins in place. So we need to have a ground, right? I'm going to add a mesh, which is kind of a collection of materials and textures and geometry in the scene. When you are using react-three-fiber, those components underlying that are contained within Three.js will get imported automatically. So I don't need to import anything here. I'm just using these global components now of a mesh. I'm going to define a plane geometry and add a basic material to it. I'll apply that, and now we have this cool groundwork here in the background. Move over here. We can see that we can drag it around, interact with it. It is a 3D scene. Cool, so let's keep going here. Now that's not what the carpet of my youth looked like. Usually it was kind of patterned and neon and probably full of gross stains. So we have to go ahead and add that here too. We're going to use the use loader import from react-three-fiber. There's all kinds of loaders that are in place within react-three-fiber that help you handle animations and audio and images. And here we're going to use the texture loader, which kind of takes an image that you have in mind and allows you to map it on top of any of your geometry in your Three.js scene. So I'm using the texture loader. We have a carpet PNG. I'm going to repeat it and throw it right onto the material that's applied to the mesh down here. I've changed it from a basic material, which is just a gray, to this standard material that allows you to pass the texture as the map here. So we'll go ahead, move this forward, and apply it. Everything disappeared, but that's to be expected. We don't have any lighting data in the scene now at all. Now we have a material that needs to respond to its own environment. So we need to continue down the path of adding additional information to the scene. Here's an environment variable that, an environment component that we're going to be adding to this scene. We can import that from react-three-dry. Again, the environment is sort of like a cube map. And if you're not familiar with this term, it's kind of like the wallpaper that is all surrounding us here on the top and the bottom and the ceiling. And sometimes in these 3D scenes, that wallpaper is visible, but oftentimes the wallpaper is invisible and only used for the lighting information that it projects or the reflections that it would give off within the scene. So I'm going to keep moving forward here. We're using the environment component. I'm using a preset of city. And if I apply that, there we go. I'm starting to see some of the carpet that I would expect in this 3D scene. Cool. Again, we're not seeing that city environment at all. Maybe we'll see a little bit of it a little bit later. So let's think inside the box here. Now, I want to start adding this coin mechanism to the scene. So I'm building a new component in React. It's called a coin box. I'm going to grab a ref for this component so I can use that component or refer to it later. But we're just applying that here, not doing anything with it just yet. And here, again, it's pretty simple, it's pretty straightforward. Now that we know what geometry is in this scene, we know what materials are, I'm adding a mesh with box geometry instead of a plane, so we're going to expect a box to appear in the scene here. These arguments are the size and the position of where this needs to go. And the mesh physical material is, again, another way to present how this thing is going to appear when it's placed into the scene. We also have a red faceplate on the front, which is going to act as our insert coin faceplate. So I'll go ahead and apply this to the scene as well. And now we have a box. Not really the most exciting thing to look at. Kind of looks like it was vibe coded by Peter Levels, if you ask me. But we got to keep going down this path of making this look a little bit better. Can't have a coin mechanism without a coin slot. We have to have somewhere to put these coins into. So let's go ahead and create a coin slot. There's this other library that I'm using to do this fancy thing called which of course stands for Bounding Volume Hierarchy Constructive Solid Geometry. And it's essentially a fancy way to say, hey, we have two different shapes or meshes. If we combine them together, if they intersect, we should perform a Boolean operation on them and either add them in some way or subtract them, cut them out, and so on. So I'm using this library here and saying the brush, which is kind of our two different shapes that we're going to be using or combining. The operation itself is subtraction. When they do intersect, we should subtract from that geometry. And the evaluator is kind of the applier, right? This is when we run it through the evaluator, it will apply that operation. So we have two different brushes in place, the main box brush, the slot hole. We're positioning it very carefully using this box geometry, subtracting the hole from the box here, and I'm going to move this forward. And now we can see there's a hole in the box. That's kind of how you can apply that sort of operation using a helper library, which is really nice. And pretty fast, too, which is all good. So we can add text to the scene as well. This is using another helper from react-three-dry. This library is killer. It's got so many different helpers to really build out your scene without a ton of work at all. So I'm importing the text component, positioning it carefully, applying what the characters are that I want to appear within the scene, and now it shows up right there on the faceplate, which is really nice and really, really easy. The positioning, the font size, color, and there's some more attributes that you can control here too, but this is going to do it for the majority of what we need to do in this scene. Again, it's looking pretty flat. These colors aren't really doing a whole lot. So we need to change more about the information this geometry, these meshes appear or apply themselves to the scene. And we can do that with materials. Materials allow you to sort of define the different ways that these objects will handle reflections and the light within the scene. And we're also going to apply a normal map. A normal map is kind of like a collection of, it's an RGB image that applied over the top of this geometry will specify at this specific triangle on this geometry, here's how it should respond to light. And this is a kind of a fake way of bending the rules here of giving the material itself the appearance of having like a bumpiness to its geometry, which would be a really expensive calculation. Instead, it's just kind of faking it. We'll see that here in action too, here in a minute. So we have the main coin box. We're going to apply that normal map, and we can adjust some of the parameters for that here as well. There's also a transmission material that you can get as an import from react-three-dry, and this just helps with the way that the appearance of one of your, whatever you apply it to, will reflect and refract light when it's applied. Really, again, some like really nice defaults that are just there for you right out of the box. So I'll go ahead and apply this, and you can see the difference that it makes for the scene. So we're looking now at, and I can just do sort of a before and after here in a minute, but we're looking at the box. If I drag around here, you can kind of see what I mean. There's no real bumps on this box, but if you zoom out far enough, it looks bumpy. It looks like it's got that kind of like rubbery type texture to it, which is pretty cool. And then same here for the transmission material. You can kind of see that text respond as it refracts through that material. So I'll just do some camera movements here so you can kind of see the way that this responds. And you also can see that city environment map that's getting reflected there. You'll be able to see some buildings inside of this red thing, which maybe if I spent more time on this, which is ill-advised, there would be maybe an arcade environment map. You'd be able to see other games in this reflections instead of some towering buildings. But we're zoomed out far enough that you can't really tell. So we need to brighten this up a little bit. The scene acting pretty dark, looking pretty dark. Three.js allows you to add lights to your 3D scene as well. There's all kinds of lights. There's point lights, spotlights, ambient lights, ways that you can handle light globally. Here we're going to add a directional light that kind of acts like the sun. I'm pulling it up really high in this scene, positioning it up on the, I think this is a Z up scene here. So all the way up, casting a shadow and turning up the intensity there, and you can see that. We'll zoom back in here. We can really see now some shadows coming off this thing, and again, a little before and after, giving it a little bit more contrast and additional reflection information into the scene. We can also add these enticing point lights right there within the coin mechanism, so it looks like this is where you would insert a coin, right? Before, I mean, it kind of just looks like I don't know, like a boring slot, and now it's inviting us in. It's inviting us to throw these coins into the coin mechanism, which we will get to here. We have to get to. I'll go again a little closer here. There's the city and the buildings showing up and the reflections there. As I do this quick movement, look at the difference that this makes. You can really see the light bending around through this transmission material. And yeah, that looks pretty compelling and convincing, if you ask me. I don't know where that light's coming from because this thing is not plugged in. Of course, we're bending the rules here in 3D. 3D is all just kind of fake. You have to just make it look real. So we need to add a wire to this thing so that I can convince more people this is a real coin mechanism. We'll add a wire to the scene. It's a cylinder geometry. It'll just come out of the back here and sort of wind around. It's using a standard material. It's just kind of a red little vinyl feeling type material that's wrapping this wire. I'll apply it here so you can see. And it's applying an emissiveness property, which is kind of its ability to give off its own glow, its own light. It doesn't need light in the scene. And this just allows it to feel like it's lit up, in my opinion. A little bit like, I don't know, it's glowing on its own, which maybe there's magic of electricity running through it. I don't know. Use your imagination. We'll go ahead here and continue on. And I need to apply the Mux logo because we need to have coins in this thing. And Mux was my company that I work for. That gave me the coins to come to this conference, so I'll at least put their logo on this thing for the hell of it. Speaking of coins, though, coins we can't use this thing without, so I need to go ahead and add those to the scene. We're going to use the texture loader again that we learned about before. This is just going to be a cylinder geometry, just a really short sort of cylinder that appears in the scene. I'm going to position it way up high because I want these coins to sort of rain into the scene or trickle down. So we'll position it up high here. We'll specify how big these coins should be. Using this standard material, it's going to have this sort of yellow appearance to it with a specific map applied. I'll go ahead and apply that. And there's our coin. It's positioned up high, but it's not falling down, and that is not looking right or acting right. Should be falling to the ground, right? We have physics in the real world. We need to fake them here in the 3D world. And 3.js by itself doesn't have any concept of physics. It doesn't know if you were to just run these boxes and coins into each other that pass right through each other like it's a ghost. Well, we can't have that. We need to have them be able to interact with one another, so we'll need to add physics to the scene. So let's go ahead and do that. We can use another wrapper from React-3 called react-three-rapier. This is a physics simulation library written, I think, in Rust, and there's a JavaScript port to it. And it's just wild that you can even do this in JavaScript, but we have this ability to add a rigid body and a collider. And the rigid body says, hey, this thing should respond to the physics that exists within our scene. The collider says, hey, this thing can run into other things in the scene too. And those are what the difference are between here. We can add metadata to the rigid body so that we can identify later on within collisions what the heck just ran into me. It doesn't know, it can't like look at the thing and say, oh, it's got a cylinder geometry. We can assign a value as metadata to these rigid bodies so that when that collision occurs, we can act on it if we want to. I have the cylinder collider here in place. I sort of very carefully position the cylinder collider right over the top of the cylinder geometry, and they act as two different things that you just like, I don't know, fake it. You just put it right on top of one another. Using these little parameters here, friction and restitution, this is like kind of the bounciness. How do these things act when they drop? Are they gonna bounce into outer space, or are they just gonna fall flat on the carpet? You really, for me, I was just playing with these parameters to try to get it looking right, and we'll see how that turned out. So I'll go ahead and apply this. All right, the coin dropped, but did not land on anything. Fell right into the void, so we need to continue here. And that's because we don't have physics on the ground. These are all things that you need to tell Three.js scene exist in some way. So I can also apply a rigid body to the ground itself. Now we can see here, I don't know if that's coming through, but there's the XYZ axis of a physics debugger here. And it's pretty soft, at least. You can kind of see it, yeah. So now there's a collider for the ground itself. And I'm going to do the same thing for this coin mechanism so that if the coins were to interact with this coin mech in any way, it knows that it exists and it needs to, I don't know, not pass right through them. So I can carefully draw these colliders, these box colliders, right around the coin mech and allow it to kind of take on the shape, again, of what this looks like. It's all fake. None of this is really coming out of the box. You have to assemble it very manually and very carefully. So now we have these colliders in place on all of the different geometries that are in the scene. I'll go ahead and add the coin back. Now we're landing right on the floor, just like we expect. That's great. One coin's not going to do it. Never did it for me when I was a kid. I need to add more coins to this scene. Need to add more coins to this scene. There we go. Starting to feel more like we can actually go ahead and play this video. But we can't interact with these coins right now. Again, these are all different parts that we need to handle separately. The ability to kind of drag and move these coins around, it's not in place, and they're just flying all over the place right now. So we can use another library. Here I'm using useGesture-React that has a really nice useDrag hook here, where I can specify what happens when I'm dragging the thing that I bind this particular hook response to. So I'm calling useDrag, and if I have the mouse or device, the down event is coming off of that. If I'm tapping or holding or clicking down, then I'm going to assume, hey, this user is trying to select the coin and do something with it. So we have a couple different events that we need to handle. We have if the device is down and the user is grabbing a coin and the coin is already grabbed, we need to release the coin. We need to make sure that there's an event that fires it off through the coin slot here. So here I'm changing that information. So down is false. It's saying like the user let go. The coin is still grabbed from the last time we've updated state. So we need to throw this coin forward. I'm going to change the cursor back from the grabber, which we'll define lower down here in this component. Set the body type back to dynamic physics, meaning it's going to respond to the physics of the scene, not the overriding physics that I will specify later with kinematic physics. And then an impulse here. So the impulse is just kind of flicking it forward on this z-axis here. And then if we don't have something in hand already, well, then let's we'll save in a global state, a coin is being dragged, so we know we don't want to pick up other coins while we're dragging a coin. We'll set the local state for the coin being dragged to true, change the cursor to grabber, and then the body type is the kinematic, meaning, hey, I'm dragging this thing, let me control the physics, do not respond to gravity and whatnot. Then we can apply that hook, that behavior, that functionality to the rigid body using this bind method here. So it's a long way of saying, well, now I can at least grab these coins. They fly all over the place. But see, now they're pushing around. It's not falling in gravity. Uh-oh, I got a coin jam there. And you can see that now they're interacting with the coin mechanism itself too. Cool, so this coming together. Almost forgot I actually have to build a video player here. I better get on that soon in a little bit. But we need a sensor in place. So what happens when the coin goes through the slot? Well, that's what I want to control the video playback. So when the coin goes through, I figure maybe we'll add some time to a timer that aggregates as I add more coins and allows me to continue to play the video. If that timer runs out, then I need to add more coins to watch the video. But we need a sensor to understand, was a coin inserted in any way? And we can add a specific kind of collider, which we've already talked about, called a sensor collider. So I add this sensor prop to the collider, the cuboid collider here, and I pass a callback. So when an intersection occurs, then we call a function. We want to run some operation as a result of the intersection occurring within that collider. So if I apply this, now there's this box, this collider here at the back of the scene, and I offset it in the back there mostly because when I had it up front where a normal sensor would be, the coins kept dropping from the sky and accidentally triggering it. Everything's fake and made up anyway. So we'll just throw it all the way in the back so when the coins do roll through that collider, that sensor will trigger only when the coins are rolling through and not when they fall from the sky. And the callback here, we have handle coin inserted. I can kind of like bubble up this on coin inserted up to the parent of this scene, which will eventually kind of handle that event and propagate it back down to the player. We'll talk about that here in a minute. We're going to set is flickering true, which will flicker the lights within the coin mechanism to say, hey, this coin was accepted, it's working. Play a coin sound effect, and then we'll also turn the flicker off here after half a second. Cool, so let's keep moving forward here. Here's the player that I should get to because we're running short on time. The player itself is the MediaChrome library that we're talking about, right? We have the ability to import the different components that we want to appear within the scene and within the player and control that layout to make it look exactly like we want. So in the player here, if I scroll down a bit, you see that I have a timer where I'm aggregating the value of these coins, and if that timer is 0, then we need an overlay that prevents video playback. Insert a coin to play. We're streaming the video from Mux here using a MP4, and we're also conditionally showing controls only when we have time that's greater than 0. So I'm kind of composing this video scene as I would like to have it appear here in the scene, and I'll go ahead and apply that. Sweet. All right, this is looking ready to play for me. So we're seeing kind of the physics debugger. I can turn that off here. And I can just start grabbing these coins. When I was building this thing, I was just kind of chucking these coins in outer space. And man, I was kind of having way too much fun with it. But we don't want to waste too many coins here. So let's just go ahead and start playing. Developer against the man.
Final round.
Oh yeah, I gotta continue.
Fight.
Let's go. Oh, are you throwing a Zoom notification at me? It's kind of hard to play on a screen share here, actually. Okay, wait, hold on, don't. Okay. Let's go. Let's go. Yes. Yes. All right, cool. Well, we have a player. I don't know what happened here. Okay. Well, I got this coin now. So wiggle a bit. Now we're running low on coins. I don't know if I can actually do this because I feel like I lost my coin handler somehow. That hasn't happened to me before. But we added some additional functionality to this scene that says, hey, if we run out of coins and we want to keep playing this video, you can just make up rules, right? So that's what we're doing here. If you secretly grab that wire in the back and aggregate enough movement on that wire, then we can trigger an on-wire wiggle event, which will allow us to add additional coins to the scene. So if I can somehow, I can still grab both at the same time. Look at that, let's just wiggle, 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 wiggle. Yes. Okay, cool. Now I can replay more of this video. So turns out this is kind of an annoying player. So I don't know if Steve's gonna like it, but I do need to send it to him anyway. So let me just go over to the inbox real quick. Pardon the interruption. There's a player. Let me know what you think. Give you the project at worst player style. Send it on off. All right, cool. Let's wrap this up here. Now, the stack, just a quick recap of what we were using to build here is react-three-fiber as the kind of the wrapper for Three.js under the hood. React-three-rapier for the rapier physics. Use gesture React was for the interactions with the coins itself. And React-three-dry is all the utility functions for the Three.js scene. This is all coming from this, a lot of this is coming from the Poimandres group on GitHub. These are one of my favorite follows on GitHub. I just like to see what the newest stuff is coming out from this group because I feel like they're on the cutting edge of what's happening in 3D on the web. And then the video side is MediaChrome library from Mux and Mux Video for the video delivery. Now, there's some exciting news with Video.js that Steve had mentioned. Video.js is a video library that's been around for a really long time, 15 plus years. But it's being revitalized. We're taking kind of the best parts of MediaChrome that we've learned in the componentized approach and bringing that to breathing new life into Video.js. So if you've used Video.js or heard of that in the past, you may want to check it out here in the near future. It's going to have support, idiomatic language and framework support. So it'll just kind of work wherever you are and whatever your app framework looks like. We have a Q4 alpha and beta release here coming up, and then Q1 for the stable, which is exciting. So to me, these kind of creative libraries are really do what allow us to bend the rules of the web, right? This flavor of creativity is often what I feel is missing from the web. And if there's one takeaway from listening to this talk, it's that not really that you should check out MediaChrome or Mux, it's that I encourage you to keep bending the rules in the projects. I think that this creativity is and this innovation is what allows new, interesting ideas to flow forward as we move ahead. Oh, I gotta go. Thank you for listening. Appreciate y'all.